Stay back, everyone.
Teacher!
A rabbi has a pressing matter ahead.
Teacher! No. Please, no. Not now. One thread. It's just the fringe. One touch. One thread. Just the edge. Only a thread.
You! I know you! Get away from him!
Stop it, please.
Rabbi Yosef! Rabbi Yosef! This woman bleeds. She is unclean. We removed her.
Please. I promise I won't touch him. I just need to...
Woman, please, we can help you, but not now.
Sorry. Try tomorrow.
No, please, just a moment. Just Skype.
What's going on? What's wrong?
Who touched me?
Master, the crowds are pressing in all around you like this, and you're asking who touched you? They all have.
Whoever touched me, come forward.
Teacher,
It was me. Just the fringe of your garment, only the edge, I promise. You are not unclean.
Why my garment?
I'm sorry. I know I should have asked. But if you touched me, it would make you ritually unclean according to the law. I was sick. I was sick for 12 years. I bled and no one could stop it. But I believed if I could just touch a piece of your garment. I was right. Thank you.
Daughter, it wasn't my piece of clothing that healed you.
But it was instant. I felt it right away.
I know, but it wasn't this. It was your faith. You have blessed me today. And I know. My daughter, I know it has been a fight for you for so long. You must be exhausted. Go now in peace. Your faith has made you well. But I'm so glad that we found each other.
You would think after 3 decades of being married and raising 3 girls into their 20s that I would be more comfortable with this topic. But I am no more comfortable now than when we first started this whole journey 30 years ago. Every single time that this topic comes up at the dinner table or around a couch, I like all of a sudden get real awkward, more awkward than usual, and I find any way to leave the room. My girls literally bring it up on purpose just to make me feel awkward and see what'll happen. They just poke and prod at me to get this to be awkward, kind of like it is right now. Now listen, you could imagine if it feels awkward to have this conversation in church, it feels awkward to talk about the woman with the issue of blood. That's how we usually talk about it, right? We usually call her that without having to be too explicit in the details. But you can imagine if it's awkward to have this conversation about a text, could you imagine how awkward it was for her? How difficult it was for her, not because just she had a medical issue, not just because of the medical problem, but because of what it meant in their culture. You see, for the woman with the issue of blood, she was ostracized. If that was the case for a woman in that time, she was ceremonially unclean. Anybody who touched her was ceremonially unclean. And during just that one little time that maybe lasts for a little while, 5-8 days, right? But not her. She was always in that state, which meant that she was always unclean. She was always untouchable, unreachable, and everybody at best ignored her and at worst ostracized and pushed her away. She had lost everything. Look at how Mark tells this story. He says a woman in the crowd had suffered for 12 years. 12 years of struggling through this. 12 years with constant bleeding, not occasional, some here and gone, here and no, all the time, constant. It's not just socially problematic for her, it's medically problematic. Could you imagine how little energy she had every single day if you're constantly bleeding and losing blood? She was anemic in every way. She'd suffered a great deal from many doctors over the years. She had spent everything she had. She'd spent it all. She had spent everything she had. She had no money, no influence, no family, no friends. She'd given it all trying to get just a little bit better. But look at what he says. But she'd gotten no better. In fact, she'd gotten worse. She's like a lot of people that you know, a lot of people that I know. She's like a lot of us. She's like many of us. In fact, probably all of us. She had tried just about everything. She had tried everything, and like all of us, found out that it was hopeless. She'd tried everything and gotten nothing until Jesus showed up. Jesus changed the story. The woman comes into the story with no money, with no friends, with no family, with no influence. She comes into the story completely empty-handed, and the worst thing that she had to spend, the worst thing that she gave up during those 12 years wasn't the money, wasn't the friends or the family, wasn't anything in her social world. The worst thing that she lost in those 12 years was all of her hope. She was literally desperate, literally hopeless, and she'd tried everything and gotten nothing except worse until all of a sudden when Jesus entered the picture and told a different story. Put a pin in that for a moment, would you? We've asked 4 things of everyone who calls Journey home. If you call Journey home, if this is your church, is this the place where you're like, I go to Journey? If you call Journey Church home, then we've asked just 4 things of everyone for everyone. And the first one is to identify your one. Identify, there are about 1,000 names written on hundreds of stones up here in the front. And these stones for us represent the names of people that matter to us, people who are trying everything and getting nothing until they meet Jesus. People who, like us, are desperate in every single way. And just like Jesus meets this woman in the crowded street, just like Jesus meets every person who's broken, who needs healing, who needs hope in a hopeless situation, just like that, these other 3 things help us make room for our one. That's what we're doing. We're committing as a church family to make room because everyone matters. We're going to identify our one, then we ask every one of you to register for a vision dessert. If you haven't done that already, you can find the link, a QR code to that right there in the booklet that you got. If you're joining us online, you can go to ourjourney.news, scroll down to Vision Dessert, and choose one of those vision desserts. Now, I'll promise you this, it's not a vision dessert for our church. We're going to talk a little bit about our vision for our church, but we've already been unpacking that. What this is a vision for our lives where we do these other 2 things. Where we learn together to ask God what part He has for us to play in making room because everyone matters. And then we're going to make room to listen to what God has to say to us. And then we're going to just communicate our commitment. Now, I know that's an overwhelming idea when you see that our goal is $2 million over and above our current giving over the next 3 years. And what we're asking you to pray about is your part in that goal. And then we're asking you to listen to God in that goal and then communicate your commitment toward that goal on October 26th. I know that's a ton, but the vision for our life is, what if in this we not only made room for these folks, but what if we learned to ask God, listen, and obey, and we learn in that something that we can apply to every other area of our life. So go back today and make sure you register for one of those. They're critical, because if we're going to do that, when people feel spent, disappointed, and out of options like that woman did, when people feel spent, disappointed, and out of options, we make room because Jesus has more to offer. That's such a powerful piece of this story, right? It's so amazing to me that this woman, in desperation with nothing left, she's tried everything, comes to Jesus and finds out that Jesus has more to offer. Now, I got to be honest with you, what she does coming to Jesus is a bit flawed, right? It doesn't make a ton of sense to us, but why does she say this? Why does she say, if I can just touch his robe, I'll be healed? I mean, the initial thought is maybe she knows who Jesus is, and she just thinks, man, it doesn't take much of his effort to heal me. Maybe her faith is perfect. But that's not likely the case. She's coming to Jesus out of desperation, not because she really believes all of who Jesus is. And here's the other thing that's so important for us, is there's a cultural understanding. And it's the reason Jesus tells her, it's not my robe that healed you. It's not your superstitious belief that if you touch the corner of my robe, it's just one thread would change everything. You see, there was a superstitious belief in that age and time that there was something special about a teacher's robe. Just the tassels were told to have healing power. It's not true. In any way, it's not true. She comes to Jesus out of desperation, not really faith. She comes to Jesus with flawed theology and not real belief. And she comes to Jesus in a way that is not like flashy or loud. But here's what's amazing. It's not full belief, it's really desperation. It's not proper theology or understanding. It's really just a desperate act by a desperate woman. And here's the other thing. It wasn't loud, but it was real. Her act of faith wasn't something that was flashy. It wasn't, she just literally wanted to fall and in the process just have a chance at healing at her last stitch of hope. It wasn't loud, but it was real. So this question comes up. Why does that happen? Why does her superstitious, desperate belief wind up with her healed? And the only answer that I can give you for that is one that I've experienced time and time and time again. It wasn't loud, but it was real, and here's the truth. God honors the things that honor God. God honors the things that honor God. That's why we're asking you not to dig deep in your pockets during this campaign, right? And that's why we're not asking you to sacrifice or sell something or go crazy or give more than you should. That's why we're literally just asking you to ask God to listen to his voice and then to be faithful and obey. Ask, listen, and obey our efforts of faith. If it's just really about money, we've already lost. We're not asking you to sacrifice more than you should. We're not asking you to dig deep and win one for Jesus. We're not pouring on all the guilt. Why? Because if this becomes about money, it already doesn't matter. We said it last week. You'll probably hear me say it again, but money can just buy stuff. Faith can move mountains. Right? Money buys stuff. and a tornado takes it out in a weekend and we have nothing to show for it. But faith can move mountains and cannot be stopped. It is so critical that we understand that if we, every single person at Journey, were to choose to make a very quiet, not loud and flashy, but very real step of faith, then we too could hear from God and follow him. And he'll never lead us to a place. He'll never lead us to a commitment that isn't a place where he'll also provide for us and protect us all along the way. And so us together stepping out in faith is our simple and quiet but real expression of faith, knowing that God honors the things that honor God. Now, I know some of you, as you're praying about what to do, and you know, man, like there's already this much month and this much money, and I don't know what to do. And if I were to make a commitment, I wouldn't even really feel proud of it, right? Maybe you're just thinking as you're praying about it, you look at that number and you look at $2 million and you're like, does it even matter? Can I just say this? If your commitment is made in faith and it's $1 or 10 cents, it matters. Your part matters because God honors the faith that honors God. He honored it in this woman's life, and it was all kinds of messed up and wrong. And I get that you feel like, man, that's a huge goal. What is my part going to matter? Can I tell you our biggest goal? Our most significant goal in this 4 weeks together isn't $2 million. That's a goal, but to be honest with you, the money matters a lot less than our major goal. Our most important goal is to see 400 households choose to make a commitment. 400 households. Jeremy, how is that even possible? Currently, we have about 265 households that are engaged in generosity. So where are the other 135 households going to come from? Faithfulness. Simple steps of faith. And what that means is that if every single person who calls Journey home would ask God, listen to his voice, and then obey, no matter what the dollar amount is, there will always be enough because God honors the things that honor God. As soon as that woman fell and she touched it, you saw it in the clip, you'll hear it in the passage, it says that Jesus realized at once that healing power had gone out of him. So he turned around into the crowd and asked, who touched my robe, right? Who touched my robe? Like, what's crazy about it to me is Jesus could have just gone on, like, whew, something. I know what's going on. He's Jesus. Let's not forget who this is, by the way. Jesus isn't a good teacher. He's not a good leader. He's not a revolutionary. He is God with skin on. When that woman touched him, he knew that something had left him. He also knew exactly where it went. He also knew exactly where it went. But here's what's important. When he stopped, he saw what others overlooked, what others were repulsed by, what others rejected. Jesus made room for her. It's what we're doing, right here. We're making room for people that will find and follow Jesus. We're making room to make heaven crowded. These people don't benefit us other than the fact that it benefits us reaching people who are far from him. When Jesus made room, making room means that seeing the people that others overlook, because everyone matters. Everyone mattered to Jesus. Enough where he had to stop. You see, Jesus was on his way to this man named Jairus. Jairus was a leader in the synagogue. And he was on his way to Jairus' house. And he was on his way to his house to heal his daughter. His daughter was gravely ill, was on the verge of death. And he was making her way there, beating the clock, right? But he made room for the unseen, rejected woman because she mattered to him. When he made room for her, he made room for you and me. He made room for you and me who have all kinds of regrets. He made room for you and me who wish we had parts of our story that we wish we could do over or change or edit or delete. Those are the parts of our stories that he made room for when he said, I'm not just going to go for the influential people who are the leaders of the synagogues and their family. I'm going to make room for the one that no one else sees. It was such a critical piece of the story, wasn't it? You see, what happened in that moment was when Jesus made room for us. He made room for us. And our response in faith of asking God, listening to his voice, and committing to obey him is exactly what he did in that moment, making room for the people that everyone else overlooks. Everyone else says, man, I wish I could do something about those people. We as a church are going to make room and then go do something. We're going to choose to obey because they get so much more out of the story after our obedience. Look at what happens. It says that the woman fell at his feet, and he said to her, look at how he phrases this. This is so important. Daughter, your faith has healed you. It wasn't the strings on my garment. It wasn't your desperation. It wasn't your Hail Mary pass at superstition. Your faith has healed you. Go in peace and be freed from your suffering. You know, like a lot of times people come to church out of desperation. And sometimes pious, religious people say, well, where was their faith when they weren't hurting? Right? Where was their faith when things were going better? Is it really faith if it's out of desperation? The answer, according to Jesus, is an absolute resounding yes. It's often desperation. In fact, I would say that if you came to Jesus without desperation, then you didn't really come to Jesus. If you came to Jesus with anything less than hopelessness in your own ability, if you came to Jesus with anything less than hopelessness in your hands, then you didn't come to Jesus. You came to a different version of you where you cooperate with God, that he brings hope into hopeless situations. That's what he did for her. And what's so important is that he didn't just bring healing. He brought healing, don't get me wrong. Right? She felt it immediately. She knew that she had been changed and healed and that the old her was gone away and a brand new life of hope had entered the picture. But she didn't just come in and experience a brand new healed body, right? She was named. Jesus didn't just heal her. He named her. He called her daughter. I love the way she said it in the clip. I'm no one's daughter. And he looks at her in the eyes. You are my daughter. You are mine, child. That you don't just leave here healed, you leave here named and seen and valued. And that is the story we offer. Last week, we started a series of 3 videos following some folks in our church who already get this idea. Last week, you saw part 1 where Jenna Cooper, who you've seen parts of her story before around here at Journey, and God did something in her life that she just had to share with the people that she loved. And she started sharing that with her friends and her coworkers, people that she valued. That story didn't stop with just Jenna sharing her faith, her story, her influence with her one. It goes on from there. Check out how God brings healing and hope when we make room, because everyone matters.
Welcome back, everybody. Last time we left off the conversation talking to Jenna about how she believes that God purposefully places people in her path. And so today we've brought Jordan into the conversation with us. I'm going to dive right into it. Jenna, how did you guys meet?
Well, we started working together doing nails about 7 years ago, and we just became fast friends because I just thought this girl's funny and cool and she needs to be my friend. So she made me laugh a lot and we just clicked.
Yeah, I kind of hounded her for a job on 3 or 4 different platforms.
Yeah.
And then when I started working there, we sat beside each other, so we just got to know each other by talking with other clients, and I was showing up for her kids' stuff. She was showing up for my kid. And yeah, we just got real close
Kind
real
of
quick.
bonded over the kids. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel that. So I'm gonna ask this. At what point would you say Jesus became part of the conversation?
Working at a nail salon in West Tennessee means people talk about church. It just became kind of a joke. People would just keep asking, where do you go to church? And I would just look at Jenna like, save me from this conversation. But we just I started asking a lot of questions because it became more important to me. She didn't push anything, or we had already built that relationship that we were comfortable with each other. So,
And I think I just really tried to share my experience more than any knowledge, because I really didn't have much biblical knowledge to even share with her. So I was just, basically sharing my experience.
So if I'm hearing this right, Jordan, at some point, there was a turn where you kind of opened up to the idea of Jesus, because you were kind of turned off to religion and church and all that kind of stuff when you guys first met. So what was the shift?
So a family I'm really close to, they did experience a tragic loss, and we had a little candlelight service for, there was a child, and I'm looking around at this family, and of course there's a sadness in the room, but the families had this peace about them, and I needed peace in my life at that time.
Well, that's cool, and we got to kind of see that story slowly unfold. And a couple years ago, Jordan decided to accept Jesus as the center of her life and was baptized at the church, and so it was really, really cool to see. And that'll be the end of part 2, and we'll come back next time for part 3. We'll open up just kind of like, Jenna, you found your one, you reached your one, she's at church, she accepted Jesus, now what? So we're gonna take the conversation on from there. But until then, we'll see you.
If that story shows me anything, it's this. It's that making room means being a church where people don't just find help, they find home. Jordan and her friends, her family, the people connected to her have found a home at Journey, not just hope and help in their current situation. They don't just find just the healing. They find so much more, like that woman who fell in desperation, didn't just find healing in Jesus. She found a name. She was seen. She was restored. She was made new. There is so much hope that we can offer, and making room at Journey means that we are making room in our lives. That's really the bottom line. Making room isn't just about making space in a building. This is not about just building more space. Making room is not about making room in a building. It's about making room in our lives and in our church with us, for people who need Jesus. Like I said earlier, there's like 1,000 names. We've counted it pretty closely. It's pretty close to 1,000 names over hundreds and hundreds of stones. And to be honest with you, we currently have room for maybe this many. Like, we currently have physical space, but we're not just building physical space for this many stones. We're making room in our lives and in our family so that these folks and many, many more of these can find and follow Jesus, because they need so much more than just friends. That's why we've asked 4 things from everyone for everyone. Would you choose to identify your one? If you didn't get a chance to write a name on a stone, it's not too late. In fact, it's never too late at Journey. There's a table over here on the side. There are ways in that vision booklet. Just scan the QR code. There's links available to help you kind of let us know, and we'll give you a marker and one of these stones to write on, and they will be a permanent part of a prominent place in our expansion of a facility so that we can make room in our church for our ones. Would you please identify your one? And would you register for a vision dessert? It's a critical piece of the story, not because you don't already know information about who we are and where we're going, but because it's a vision for your life. And I believe that if you will sacrifice the hour and a half and eat some great dessert and hang out with some awesome people, that you could make room in your life for a significant part of your faith journey. And if you'd ask God what part He has for you to play, and listen for his voice, and then just respond in faith. It doesn't matter if it's a small act of faith or a huge stretch. You go exactly where God takes you. And can I just say this to you? If you feel any financial pressure, any guilt, feel free to back up. It's okay with us. God honors the things that honor God, and we won't dishonor God with our pressure, and we're just asking you to honor him with your obedience. It's that simple. So I just have one question for you. It's at the very bottom of your note page. It's as simple as this. What's next for you? If you've already registered for a Vision Dessert, then you're going to that, then begin to ask God and listen. What's next for you? If you haven't registered for a dessert, do that today. Fill out some of the questions on that page for this thing, for this talk. Fill out those questions. Do some of the homework. It's really not homework, though, is it? It's really heart work. Would you do the heart work after this? Walk with God. I'm confident that if every single person who calls Journey home will do all four of those things, identify our one, attend a Vision Dessert, ask God for his part that we're to play, and then simply communicate that commitment and obey him, we'll have all the money we need as long as we have all the partners that God has given us. Would you please take your next step? So what's next for you?